Welcome back.
Right. Hello.
We're ready for chapter 14.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff in chapter 14. Let me
Chapter
share my
14
screen.
has some very
Host
powerful
has
tools.
disabled screen sharing.
Ah, let's fix that.
Barry
Chapter
doesn't want me
14
to
has
share.
some really powerful tools that just I so appreciate them. Host
Yeah,
tools
it's
for
all about
sure.
geoprocessing tools. So it's the tools you use to do analyses in GIS.
Okay, you are good to go.
Okay, let us share this. Share. All right. It's an old PowerPoint. I'm going to leave that up on the side because I'm going to not go through everything. Um, but we will start with the most popular, I guess,
I think you're
geoprocessing.
going to have to go to slideshow modes because they're kind of small.
Oh, okay. There
We'll
you go.
just skip their stuff. There we go.
Sure. Yeah, so buffers is probably the most popular. It's basically doing a radius of a feature. So here we're doing a radius of a point. So you get the nice circular round buffer at whatever I didn't, oh, 1,000 feet of a school. So yeah, so you can set whatever, you can do it in yards, meters, you can do any kind of that, miles, whatever. And then you can also later we'll talk about how you can use the buffer to then select things underneath. But yeah, the buffer is really good. I also want to talk about um, when you do the buffer, it will come in with a colored background. I always like to go back in and do the fill as transparent because that way you can see the outline of the buffer, but you get to see all the stuff that's underneath it too.
Yeah, I find it ironic that the buffer is what you want to highlight, right? I mean, the
Mhm.
stuff in it. And what you do is you're like, okay, let's just, right? Anyway,
Yeah, it covers everything up. So
yeah.
I yeah, I almost wish that the default was no color, but okay, yeah, so different buffers, we can look at it, with all kinds of different features. This one's nice, even though the buffers are colored, they laid them underneath the other features, so that works as well. When you run the buffer, though, it'll come in on top and for stuff, but if you move it to the bottom, you can also do that. Then you can do buffers on lines, and they do end up looking like little worms. So this is, we have a street that's being paved, and we want to go a quarter mile to notify these businesses that this street is being paved. Yeah, okay, so then we can do polygon buffers. Those, I work for a city, and so we do a lot of buffering of parcels so that you always end up with the little rounded corners.
You do get used to recognizing when you see a map and
Yeah.
it has buffers on it, which they didn't even say they had buffers on it. You can look at it and see those roundy edges and go like, oh, you've buffered parcels. You've buffered
Yeah.
some sort of a polygon.
Yeah. So you don't need to pay attention to the dialogue at all. This is just we're wanting to show you how the buffers work. This is another thing that you can do with buffers. It's really cool. In the city, we have a notification um, rule, I guess, for projects. You have to notify neighbors within a certain amount. I can see that there's two polygons that did not get chosen. I must have um, unselected those for whatever demo reason. See those, Barry? The
Yeah.
two, yeah, that's weird. Anyway,
There are people we don't want to tell. We don't want
yeah,
them to show up to the meeting.
we want to tell everybody else, but not them.
Yeah, that by the
Um,
way, that's a really bad strategy. Don't do that.
yeah. So this one, we're just doing a buffer of a river, and then the red are toxic sites. So this one we're doing. Oh, this one is nice. Each is in a separate polygon. So you can actually do multiple rings of buffering. That's really handy as well. Like a quarter mile, half mile, three-quarter mile, and a
Yeah.
mile.
Like most impacted to
Yeah,
least impacted and select from within each one. And you can do
yeah.
donuts. which is where you do like you want all the ones that are at least this far away, but not more than that far away. So you get a donut as opposed to, otherwise it's a circle. That makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does to me.
That's to you, yeah.
Okay, so buffers, we're done with buffers. We're talking about clipping. Also pretty handy. So you've got this input that looks like some kind of a landscape. And then say you have a project area. That can be your clip feature. And then, yeah, this is also called the cookie cutter because then you go in and you use that project area to clip the landscape and you get this little the output to look like that. Why would I do that? So we've got streets and we've got a central business district, but I don't want the streets for the whole city and the whole area. I just want the streets in my neighborhood. So yeah, you can just clip them.
I think the one I've used most for that is like you'll get a data set of all the streets in in the state of California, for example, and I just need the streets for this one city, or I just need the streets for this one little neighborhood that I'm working on. Well, working on your project then with all of that data in the background just really slows you down. And
Yeah,
plus the visual clutter is horrible.
yeah.
And if you had a
It's
couple of data sets like that, you will just grind yourself to a halt.
yeah. Yeah, because the computer has to process the whole thing. So, so here's an example because you also have learned about selecting by location. And then we just taught you about clips. So how are they different? Well, if you select by location, it's going to select everything that is within the polygon, except some of them extend outside the polygon. So, but they'll be selected and then in your resulting data set. So sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's what you want. But if you want the clean cut, then the clip is the way to go.
Yeah, the problem with the clean cut is sometimes you cut pieces of parcel out and things like that, and
Yeah,
it's
it depends
really
on what you're
awkward.
clipping for
Yeah.
sure. So, okay, then we're going to talk about dissolve. I like this one. This is one I don't use clip all that much, I'll be honest, but I do use dissolve. So this one I believe is Iowa, and we've got all the different counties. But what they have in the um, in the tabular data is like which region of the state that they're in, or maybe a congressional district or something like that. So you can show it the way it looks on the left, but that's a lot of boundaries that are distracting from what you're trying to talk about. So what you can do is a dissolve where you tell it, take all of the things that are the same value and put them together. And that way, so let's just take, oh, yeah, there we go. Let's take this north east one, this purple guy. So it takes that and it puts it all into one polygon. And now you just have the outline around the larger polygon. We use that a lot in voting because we have a bunch of small precincts and they usually aggregate precincts to make like an official
Consolidated.
precinct.
Yeah,
Consolidated
yeah.
precincts. Yes, thank you. So we use that a lot for that so that that way the outlines, it's more of a visual thing. Yeah, it's so that the outlines look correct.
The one I found this most useful for was when we took individual parcels and we did a dissolve of all the ones touching, and then what it creates is the blocks.
Yeah.
And that is so nice and clean, and it makes a great background for all kinds of stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so this is another one where you've got all the states, but then they have a field that's called subregion with the classification of their region. So you do your dissolve. And oops, did you see there was a population field as well? So when you do the dissolve, there's options. And on this one, we're going to do take all those regions, but summarize or add up the populations for each of the states and give us the total when you give us the region. So that's pretty handy. So there we go. Now you've got all of your different regions with the total population in each region. Okay, so appending, we're going to do append and merge, I believe. So append is when you have a data set and you want to add another data set to it. So here we've got probably streams or something. And so you've got two different data sets. They're the blue one and the green one. So you can put them together and say append, and it puts them together to give you your output data set. So it's a nice way of having your features all in one layer rather than trying to manage two different layers. So yeah, and here's a good example. We've got street center lines for two different counties in two different data sets. So you do an append. Oops. I don't know why we need to see that. And now you have one layer that's got all the streets. So sure, you could use them in two different layers and symbolize them so they look the same, so they look like they're all one. But this way, now they really are all in one. All right. Ooh, and then union is when you want to combine features. So let's see, on the left, we've got some layer of polygons, not polygons, but rectangles in the sort of purple, gray, whatever color that is. And then you have the ones for the yellow circle. And then it will take both of those and it will give you all the fields for both of the data sets. So especially in these places where it intersects, you get to have the information for both. And then it'll put the fields for these other ones too, but it just won't have the values for the other layer because it's not in the other layer. So let's see, what's a good example? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we've got zip codes and then neighborhoods. And so zip codes are generally a larger geographic area and neighborhoods is typically smaller. So we can do this where we start with those and then we codes, neighborhoods. Oh boy. Yep, you don't need to see how all that's working, do you? Oh yeah, oh, okay. So here we go. Now if you click on it, you get the zip code and you get the neighborhood.
No extra charge.
Yep, good stuff. Yeah, honestly, I don't use that one very
I
much
don't
either.
either. But we
Intersect.
could if we wanted to. It's there.
Yeah, and intersect is a good one too.
Yeah.
Because if you have two data sets and yeah, data sets, yeah, and they are partially shared, but partially not. But what you want is only the portion where they come together, where there's information for both things. So you would do this where you put the two inputs in and then it takes out only the part where they both exist.
And the best part is there's so many different versions on intersect. You can do,
Yeah.
okay, I want where they're one is fully within the other one. And another is I want ones where they touch the other one, or I want ones where their centers is in the other one. And you say, what do we need all these options for? And then something comes along and you say, oh, now I get it. I needed that option. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
But you do have to make sure you pick the right one. If you get the wrong one, just redo it.
Yeah. Because usually when you look at the result, if it's not what you expected, you probably picked the wrong thing. I've done it a million times. Yeah, so here's one where they want to intersect because there's a floodplain layer and then a buildings layer. And so they want to know which buildings are inside that floodplain. So we do that. And the result is only those buildings that were in the floodplain. So, oh, Oh, okay. So if you get all fancy with your geoprocessing, you don't have to use this, but it's a thing called Model Builder, and it's like a workflow builder. It results in kind of a schema, like a little diagram of you take this input and you add it to that input, and then you do this thing, and then
It
you
looks
can
like
put
a
a
flow chart, but
chart.
it's
That's
not just a visual, it's real.
yeah,
I mean,
it
it,
actually
it really does
runs.
the functions.
Yeah, you click a button that says run and it'll go through, and I love it because it highlights what it's working on along the way. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. So see how what Barry was saying, like it's a little flow chart. So the blue ones are layers that you're putting into the processes or the geoprocessing that is the yellow boxes. And then anything that's green is what resulted from that, like the join. And then when you get done with the join, there's a layer, that's the result. When you do
And
the clip, there's a layer in green that's the result. So
the
you can
screens
do as
won't exactly look like this because this is an older version, but it doesn't matter. The concept is
oh yeah.
100% the same.
Yeah. Let me see. I think, did I show? Oh, yeah. And it shows you, when it started, what it's doing. It's pretty cool. And it tells you when it ended and that it was successful.
This is
Oh,
great if
yeah.
you have, oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. So
This is
I knew I included something like this. This is not mine by any means, but this is one that I saw. I probably took a picture of it in the map gallery or something. But the first one that we showed was pretty simple. I can handle that. You can really use Model Builder, and it comes in really handy, especially for really complex
yeah.
things like this.
Let's say you're doing an environmental project and you want to look at a whole state of Nevada and you have it broken down into grids, okay, and then you want to do this analysis of aerial imagery that you brought in, okay, and so you have all these little pieces of it and you need to run this process on each of these little cells that you've created. So model builder is just great for that because then it's like, okay, here's your data for this cell, plug it in, and then off it goes. And then you make sure that you do the same thing every time. Otherwise, if you try to do that
Yes.
manually, it's really easy to forget a step.
Yeah. Yeah. This does ensure that it also will show you if this whole process breaks down, if something doesn't work, it'll show you exactly where it stopped working. So it helps you focus in terms of trying to troubleshoot how to fix it and what to do
Yeah.
differently. Otherwise, I mean, you'd have to start from the beginning and watch each step. This way, if it stops, it's going to show you exactly where it stopped and probably give you a hopefully helpful error message.
Now, the latest thing is you can use AI to build your model, and that's
Yeah.
really wild. We
Yes.
haven't done that yet,
Nope.
but it's there.
Hmm. Yeah. Fun times. All right, let's see. Oh, here we go.
Ooh.
This one's even more crazy. Anyway, this is Bonnie having fun showing crazy stuff. I find it interesting too that there's only three blue things on here. So there's really only three input data sets. The rest of it is all processes and results.
And one of them is at the end. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. So that's it for that. Stop share. Thank you
So
for joining us for geoprocessing.
the one thing I will add that we'll talk about in the next chapter is with geoprocessing, those things generate an output file and do not take the default names.
Yeah,
Okay?
they're not so helpful.
No, because you're not going to remember that append um, was, which file did I do that with and when did I do that? And wait,
Yeah.
is this before or after I did this? So anyway, be nice to yourself and just take a few seconds and put something in there,
Yeah,
right?
a little organization can save you a lot of grief.
But we'll save that fun for the next
Okay.
chapter, right?
All right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's it for now. Get to work. Whoops, hit the right button. There we go. Got it.